In 1980, I was a junior bureaucrat in Canberra, and I spent some time in the Department of Aboriginal Affairs. And I remember that when I arrived, I was told my first job, to be completed within 2 weeks of my arrival, was to write the department's submission to a Senate inquiry into the feasibility of a Makarrata, or a treaty as it was then called, between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal Australians. And I said, look, that was a great honour, but I was far too junior, inexperienced for such an important task, and I should give it to somebody who knew more about the subject. And to my dying day, I'll remember the Deputy Secretary's response. He said, Keith, we don't care what you say as long as you say nothing. I wrote that submission, and I wrote this next poem called Terra Nullius. Terra Nullius was the legal doctrine which said basically that Australia was, to all intents and purposes, vacant land, available for the first person, obviously the first white person, to come and claim it and stick a flag on it. And that the Aboriginal people were basically like the kangaroos, they were wildlife and didn't have any rights. The idea was that Australia was not conquered, it was settled. Pleasingly, the High Court has since overthrown that absurd proposition with the Mabo and the Wick judgments. But in 1980, it hadn't. Settled, not conquered, so the law says. The justice that speaks through holes in the head. The good British justice that says, no surprise, that to British law we should all bend our eyes and deny what we see and deny what we know, that we murdered and poisoned and poxed long ago to steal the land from the black people here, how we sent in the missions and smoothed down our hair. Settled, not conquered, it has a fine sound. The image is peaceful. Why? Cherubs abound. The brave pioneers going out for to toil and eke out a living from the harsh desert soil. And though I admit we're permitted to dream, it would be inconvenient in the extreme to notice the blacks on the edge of the town, whose parents had shown the explorers around. Who discovered Australia? The school teachers say. It was never lost, mate. That's a joke now today. But it has a hard edge, for it cuts to the bone, as it cuts the foundations from under the throne. Settled, not conquered, and 1901, a new Commonwealth beaming under the sun. Draft horses and doilies and flags in the air, as the piano accompanied Australia Fair. And citizenship in this new Aussie nation, well, it wasn't for blacks, wasn't their station. Besides, the poor beggars would soon fade away. They weren't in good health and their bills couldn't pay. The black, biologically, was surely a failure, though we'd done our best. Let's toast for white Australia. Settled, not conquered, and wouldn't you know, the winds of change started to blow. At Wave Hill, the blacks wanted white man's pay, so they went on strike and the white fell away. They squatted on the squatter's land. That made good sense. He'd understand. Now they're talking land rights and compensation. They're talking, alas, of a separate nation. It's gone too far, I'm telling you. They'll claim the whole country before they are through. That's an act almost without precedent. Settled, not conquered. Well, they got it half right. But give them their due, they weren't too bright. And besides, with hindsight, it's easy to see there are lessons to learn from history. I wonder what they'll learn from us. Now, if we're honest with ourselves, we invaded and dispossessed and engaged in ethnic cleansing and genocide and apartheid, and with dislocation and slavery thrown in for good measure, and we did it on a continental scale. And how do we salve our consciences and maintain our sense of pride, of achievement, not to say our moral self-satisfaction? Why, we talk of colonisation, not invasion, of settlement, not dispossession, of dispersal, not ethnic cleansing and genocide or murder, of assimilation, not genocide, of segregation, not apartheid, of black velvet, not rape, of welfare and guardianship, not family dislocation, and of assignment and indenturing, not slavery. Now, we're not arguing here for a black armband view of history, merely for its removal from over our eyes. For if we are to have reconciliation in this country between our communities, we have to start by being honest with ourselves.